Amen. Here's Ron preaching the word to us.
All right. Today is a day of transition. We're sorry to see folks go, but that's the way it is in life. There is a transitory nature about it, and people are coming and going, and it was good to see Mark today for the first time in a while. He's been over in Holland. He's just visiting, but he was a member here, 7 or 8 years ago. And so there's a coming and there's a going, but one of the things that's so important is that our family stays together. And we need each other. Because we go through all kinds of trials and tribulations. And we never know when they're coming. This week, I got up. Life's good. Monday, Tuesday. Get a phone call from my brother at 11 in the morning on Tuesday. I go, well, that's odd. Ray doesn't normally call me at 11 in the morning. What's up, Ray? Oh, we just took Mom to the hospital. She passed out. She's in the ambulance. I'm like, that's not good. And he goes to the hospital, and then he calls me and goes, yeah, she's got aphasia. I think. He figured it out by Google. I'm looking at Google, and aphasia, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, and I may not be, most likely caused by a stroke. All right, that's not good. And so we're trying to figure out what's going on, and the rest of the day, my mom's not talking right, and sometimes strokes you come back from and it's okay, but sometimes you don't, and I don't know what's going to happen, and I'm driving over the next morning, got to go see what's going on, and the whole way over I'm driving like, what's it going to be like? The future could have just radically changed. I don't know what's going to happen. Maybe my mom will not be able to communicate anymore like she used to. Maybe it's not going to be right. Like maybe it's going to, I don't know. And as I'm getting close, almost there, I get a call from my brother. Just talked to Mom. She sounds awesome. I'm like, how is this possible? Although I'm excited. What she's coherent? Yeah. Last night she wasn't making any sense. Now she's making lots of sense. What happened? Turns out when they got to the hospital, there's this silver bullet shot they can give you. It's like a souped-up anti-stroke drug. They gave it to her, did its magic. My mom is coherent. Much rejoicing. So all we had to deal with was a broken shoulder, which at 86, is a little bit more exciting than you want. But considering what the other options were, we can work with a broken shoulder. So they went in, they had surgery, so I've been there. I got back this weekend, my brother's watching her now. But there's that uncertainty. You don't know what's going to happen. And during that time this week, we had a meeting talking about the women's role at my house on Tuesday night, and I'm going over the next morning, and the leadership group's there, and the staff is there, and we're praying for my mom, and we're like, man, we hope it all. I don't know. But it was good to have the family with me. It's good to have everybody praying with me. It was good to have Jeff come over early and go, what do you need, man? Anything, whatever. It's good to have Michael go, bro, I can take off work tomorrow and come with you if you need me to. I got Steve and Rob and their wives are texting, hey, bro, we're praying. Like, that makes all the difference in the world to have that family connection. And God knows that. Let's turn in our Bibles to 1 John chapter 3. God knows we need family. And in fact, we need family for probably a lot more than all the reasons that we can think of. John wrote this letter to the Christians in the first century, and he was battling some false teachings. And as you go through the letter, you can see him helping to establish, that Jesus actually came in the flesh. That was one of their challenges back then. They didn't believe he was human. They thought he was just spirit from some of the teachings of the Gnostics. And as he's moving through the letter, he gets to this part in 1 John chapter 3 where he begins to talk about the importance of the family of God. And so let's dive in here in 1 John chapter 3 and verse 11. It says, this is the message you heard from the beginning. We should love one another. Now that sounds like what Christians are supposed to be doing. We should be loving. You're like, amen, Ron, that is right. We need to love each other. You know, it kind of harkens back to John chapter 13, verses 34 and 35, where it says, "A new command I give you," this is Jesus talking, "love one another." Which in one sense, that isn't all that new. If you can go back into the Old Testament, you can find that. But it says, "as I have loved you." You see, when Jesus came, He demonstrated what it was to love at the next level. I feel like my volume's going up and down. Not sure if that's true or not. I'm trying to adapt. "But as I have loved you, so you must love one another. By this, all men will know that you are my disciples if you love one another." He doesn't say, "All men will know you are my disciples if you are awesome at keeping all the rules." "All men will know you are my disciples if you're super obedient." "All men will know you are my disciples if you're busy being bossy pants and pointing out what's the matter with other people." Doesn't say that. It says if we love one another. And how did Jesus love? You know, as Ben was talking, Jesus put our needs ahead of His own so much as to sacrifice His life. Jesus loved with compassion. He was genuinely empathetic and saw the suffering in people. He saw they were harassed and helpless. He saw they were hurting. He would weep with them. He would console them. But He also gave them the truth. He doesn't just say, "It's going to be awesome, guys," when it wasn't. He said, "Look, actually, you got to change." He gave them aid. They always had the purse they kept with money that they used to spend on the needs of the poor. He was patient. I mean, look, when you think about how patient He was with the disciples, because when you're reading through the Bible, those disciples, they said some stupid things. Like, "I can't believe you said that. I can't believe you're fighting about who's the greatest while Jesus is right in front of you. At least go in the other room." Now, we actually do the same level of boneheadedness. We have a harder time seeing it. But I'm like, he was a patient man. He had wisdom. He had instruction. He would teach. He had forbearance. Back to my previous comment about arguing about who was greatest behind you, he would be like, "Ugh, these guys. Come on, guys." He didn't throw them out. He didn't say, "You prideful bunch of dogs." All right, come here. They'd have a little D time, and He'd help them out. But He had expectation. "Look, guys, you got to do stuff. This isn't just about a group hug thing here. We actually got to do the work of God." He also had boundaries. He's like, "Look, I got to go pray. I need some time away from you guys." He would rebuke. I mean, he would bring it. And He would forgive. He would have mercy and acts of service and generosity and challenge and admonition. That's what it means and more. I haven't given it all. I've given part of it. But that and more is what it meant to love as Jesus loved. Now that sets the bar high. Then John does something, what I think, I don't know that I would do this, but he goes, "Okay, so I'm calling you to love. That's been the call from the beginning. That's the call that Jesus gave us, to love like Him. But let me tell you something. Let me tell you what it's not." Read on in verse 12. "Do not be like Cain, who belonged to the evil one and murdered his brother." And why did he murder him? Because his own actions were evil and his brothers were righteous. "Do not be surprised, my brothers, if the world hates you. We know that we have passed from death to life because we love our brothers. Anyone who does not love remains in death. Anyone who hates his brother is a murderer. And you know that no murderer has eternal life in him." You know, I read verse 11, I'm feeling like, this is awesome. Jesus set the bar for love. I can love. This is great. And then all of a sudden we have this contrast. Woo! Don't be like Cain. You know, I wake up in the morning, I come here, I'm not really thinking you guys are like Cain. But he wrote the letter to Christians, which we are a part of. So what does that say? Maybe could I become like Cain? Like, that's the warning. Don't become like Cain. I mean, part of us has to go, wow! The other part is like, well, okay, why is he saying this? It seems so crazy. Well, what happened with Cain? We know from Hebrews 11:4 that Cain had faith issues. That was his fundamental problem. His brother had faith and he did not. We know from Hebrews 12:1 that sin easily entangles. And then what do we see in Genesis? Let's turn in our Bibles to Genesis chapter 4. And it says in verse 6, then God said to Cain, why are you angry? Why is your face downcast? What is the problem here, Cain? If you do what is right, will you not be accepted? Look, he's like, look, Cain, it ain't that hard. Just do what's right. But if you do not do what is right, sin is crouching at your door. It desires to have you, but you must master it. Part of this is just like super simple. God's talking to Cain. What's your problem? Why are you crying? Why are you upset? Why are you pouting over here? All you got to do is do what's right. And honestly, isn't that the challenge we face? Sometimes we're all upset and frustrated. Life ain't going our way, and a lot of us do it. We're just actually not doing what's right. You know what happened to Cain? Well, he let envy come in. He didn't deal with envy, and then we went to jealousy. He didn't deal with that, and it goes to bitterness. And he lets that fester for a while, and then he gets to anger. And anger goes to hate. And right there, we already says, here in 1 John, that's as good as murder. But Cain closes the deal all the way to murder. Because he didn't deal with the sin in his life. That's one of the challenges with sin, is we always have to keep dealing with sin. And he's talking to the family of God. We've got to keep dealing with the sin that's in our lives. We never get to coast. I like coast. When I'm riding my bike, I like it when we go downhill. Best bike ride ever in my life. Lorianne and I, we were on sabbatical. There's this place called the Creeper Trail. We drove our car up there. They take your bikes, they put them on the back of their little van. They drive you all the way up to the very beginning of this hill that this train called the Creeper used to run on. It's been converted to a bike path. It's 17 miles long. All downhill. Man, best bike ride ever. You could pump and then you were really flying, or you could just coast and you were just cruising along. It was just a little slow grade. But I liked that whole ride. We stopped along the way and got grilled cheese at this little restaurant. Look, coasting, grilled cheese, it doesn't get any better than that. I did not get in better shape. Now, the guy that was riding up the Creeper Trail, which there were like two. These are like hardcore biker dudes. They're getting in much better shape than me. I'm going downhill, stopping and getting grilled cheese. I had the overall, I went biking today, but it was like, hey, I don't know that I actually helped my health, if I told people that, they'd say, oh, great, amen, bro, you did 17 miles. But it wasn't it wasn't 17 miles. It's kind of like when I finished third in a triathlon in my age group, and there were only 3 people in it, My kids told me to go get the medal. I didn't even know this until I got home and read the results the next day. I'm like, I am not getting a third place medal when there were only 3 people in it. I am not doing that. I was like, I ain't doing it. There was just something not right about that. But Cain, he coasted. He didn't deal with it. In verse 13 in here of 1 John 3 is interesting. It says, do not be surprised, my brothers, that the world hates you. Why does the world hate Christians? A lot of the world is apathetic towards Christians until you collide with their ideology, and then they decide not to like you because you're confronting something. But until you confront it, they're like, well, whatever. And then, there's some other people that like us, but why in general? Well, the hate comes from godlessness. If God is not important to you, then if you as a Christian are doing something that I don't like, and it's interfering with my life, no. And I don't have God to stop me from hating you, I don't like you. What happened to... What's the point here? Where did Cain's hate come from? Worldliness. This is a guy whose father was Adam, who knew a lot about God. He had direct conversations with God. Somewhere along the way, Cain took a left turn and decided he knew better. He didn't need to listen to God. And he became worldly. He became godless. You know, if we don't cling to God, we return to the world, and then we act like the world. And that's what John is warning us against. He's saying, don't do it. Don't be like Cain. I mean, to me, that scares me. Because I think, I'm not going to be like Cain. But John's like warning him. You know, what's the other scary part? You go to Acts, and Paul's like talking to the Ephesian elders. He's like, you know, some of you guys are going to blow it. This is the elders. Like, we all need to be concerned about keeping our hearts right with God. Not in a paranoia, but in a soberness and a steadiness that says, you know, day in, day out, I'm going to stay near God. We just have to, it's an ongoing decision. It's like day in, day out, I decide to be a good husband. Not a perfect husband, but I try to do good. If I blow it, I'm sorry. But so am I paranoid that my marriage is going to be over? No. But am I working at it? Yeah. 'Cause I like it. I like being married. I like having a happy marriage. So I'm going to keep working at it. I like being right with God. I want to keep being right with God. I want to work at that. I don't want to lose that. But look, a lot of times marriages crash and burn because we don't invest in them. Our relationship with God will crash and burn if we don't invest in it. Are you in danger of falling in the same trap as Cain did? Is there a sin that is threatening to entangle you? A sin that will lead you to stop loving the people of God? You know, why does he emphasize loving the people of God? Like, why is this a big deal? Well, what happens when we sin and we don't want to deal with it? Do we go around going, oh gosh, I'm such a loser, I should change? No. But before long, what did Cain do? He didn't take responsibility. He goes, it's Abel's fault. Abel's fault for offering a faithful, righteous sacrifice. That's who I need to deal with. You see, when we don't deal with ourselves, it's easy to kind of go around and go, oh, well, you know, there's Brother Bob over here in the fellowship. That guy's killing me. And Sister Susie over here, I didn't like the way she looked at me last week, and she didn't talk to me, and she knew she needed... Before you know... And then we let it fester for a little while. And then we're like, oh, I'm not going to talk to him anymore. Oh yeah, he sits over here, I sit over there. It starts to creep in. Sin doesn't want to blame me, so I'll blame somebody else, but eventually I'm going to stop blaming somebody else, and I'm just going to start blaming God. God, it's your fault. Why are these people here? Why did you do this to me? Why is my life situation X, Y, Z? You know, why? Why is it so hard to love God's people? I think one of the biggest problems that's hard to love God's people is we're selfish. I'm selfish. Loving all y'all interferes in my life. It does. Because I got to sit down, I got to talk, I got to listen, I got to be responsible with the words I use. I just can't say what I want to say. I got to actually put out some energy and effort. I got to get involved in your life. Then I start feeling what you feel, and I'm like, woo, this is some work. It'd just be easier to go home, turn on NASCAR, watch the opening 30 laps, nap, wake up, watch the last 5. That would be much easier. See, NASCAR is the perfect Sunday afternoon sporting event. I'm telling you. Watch the beginning, sleep in the middle, watch the end. We're selfish. We're easily offended. It's so funny how easily offended I can be, and then I think about it and go, that's really not that big a deal. Like, what is your problem, Ron? Just let it go. But in the moment, it can seem like that's really important. We get offended, and we're enamored with our own opinions. Look, man, when I got baptized, there were like 68 books in the Bible. Like 39 in the Old Testament, 29 in the New Testament. You didn't know that. You thought there was 27. But in my Bible, there was also first and second opinions. Because I knew what was going on. Those books were awesome because my opinion was a godly opinion. And if you didn't have it, there was something very concerning about you. Over time, people discipled me. They helped me. And so then I was down to like 67 books. I got rid of second opinions. I just went on the first opinions because that was the really good stuff that I knew I was right about. The problem is other people have first and second opinions as well. And they don't necessarily sync up. And then we start going, well, what's the matter with you? You don't hold this political belief that I hold. There's something seriously wrong with you. Well, you don't share this opinion about COVID that I share. Why not? This is what righteous people do. That's what we think. And we just keep going on. We have lots of social issues today. We can have lots of opinions. And we get too busy holding our own opinion. And then, this is one of my personal favorites for me to do, judge myself by my intentions. Bro, I did not mean to. But you said that. Yeah, but I didn't mean it. I didn't mean that. But others, I'll judge by their actions. Oh, what he said. Look, the guy that cuts me off in traffic, I'm like, what are you doing? When I cut somebody else, I'm like, oh, sorry, dude, I didn't mean to. My B, but they can't see that. But I don't feel bad about it. I didn't mean to do it, but the guy in front of me that cut me off, I am sure that guy meant to cut me off. Because he has excellent blind spot monitoring. Look, that kills us. And I think another big reason number 2, I don't even know if I said in the first one is selfish. Number 2, Christians are in the process of sanctification. What does that mean? We're all growing spiritually. We get baptized, we're forgiven of all the sin, but not all the sin is out. So we are being sanctified, and we're repenting of this, and we're growing through that, and we're changing. And so we get further down the road, we're doing a lot better, but we're still never sin-free. I say a lot less stupid stuff now. I have not eliminated all stupid stuff. I will give my opinion when I should be quiet. I'll overstate it because I'm sure it's so right. I just need to give it that extra pop. And then Lori Ann's like, what's the matter with you? Jeff just goes, because I'm not there yet. We are incomplete. We sin against each other, but we bump into each other. But the mistake is, if we bump into each other as the family of God, we need to work it through. I think one of the biggest challenges to working it through is, we're a chicken. We are not going to go talk to him because it'll be awkward, it'll be uncomfortable, I'm not 100% sure I'm right, or, what am I going to do? I'll definitely do it next week. I mean, look, next week is a killer. I'll do it next Sunday. Even though he sat down right next to you this Sunday, and I'm like, oh, next Sunday. Look, we don't get things resolved. I don't like resolving things with people. I don't like having talks. I don't like setting up appointments and going there, and I'm thinking, what am I going to say? I want to say it the right way, but, I hate that. But if I don't do that, I don't get resolved. I got to overcome being a chicken. I got to overcome Satan's tricks. Well, I don't need to get with that guy. It's not that big a deal, even though I can't stop thinking about it 24/7. It'll be okay. They won't understand. We'll just let it go. Except it's still stuck in my throat right here, right next to the microphone. It's right here. Or, you know what? I got to stay safe. I get with them, it may not work out. Look, you know what? You need to be safe. So if this person is not safe, then take somebody with you so it'll be safe. Because if that person's doing things that aren't safe, we got to help them do safe things. We just go, oh, not safe, and not do anything. Look, don't put yourself at risk, But we can't not do things. And sometimes we think it's not safe and it's totally safe. We gotta look, the family of God, we gotta fight for the family of God. It is not easy. It is not comfortable. There's a lot of angst getting together and working through stuff. I have been getting together with people for many, many years. The angst does not go away. And neither does the relief. Had the talk, it went great. Cheeseburgers for everybody. But look, it's part and parcel to being a Christian. And I think the third danger we have in not solving it is then we kind of drop back and we do this generalizing thing. Well, the church. All right, so exactly who in the church has caused this problem for you? Well, it's this guy and this guy. All right, so the whole church is two people. Let's go talk to those two people and stop saying the church. Like the church can't do anything to you. People in the church can. People in the church have. People in the church will. But the church is awesome in its imperfection. But we got to help each other. But don't generalize it. Go talk to those people. I work with the teens. Every now and then I get, well, there's cliques in the teens. I'm like, where? Let's go solve them. Well, there's cliques there. Where? Let's go solve them. Look, I'm not disputing that they may be, are they there, not there? I don't know. I'm just saying, if they're there, let's go. Let's go solve it. We can do it. We can talk it through. Or we can sometimes go, well, the leadership. Which, of course, is a favorite because I'm usually part of the leadership. My favorite, though, is the leadership says, and then they say something is said, and I'm like, okay, I have never said that. I don't remember being in a room where that was said by other people from the leadership. Now, that's not to say that we don't make mistakes or do things wrong either. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, if there's a problem, come talk. Get a hold of me. Talk to Jeff. We'll talk it through. If we're wrong, we'll say something that we've said many, many times. I'm sorry. Look, I've said that a lot. I've had a lot of practice. If I've blown it, if I've done what's wrong, I'm happy to apologize. Let's work it through. Or maybe it was a misunderstanding or whatever. Look, this thing can get resolved. And look, the staff, the LG, I know they'll all give you the same thing. They'll say, let's talk, let's resolve it, and we'll work it through. But we got to be a people that works things through. There was a brother. Man, I watched him study the Bible. He was so excited. He got baptized. He's like, man, the kingdom is awesome. He's building friendships. It's fantastic. He's studying with other people. He meets this great girl. They get married. I was there at their wedding going, this is awesome. They have kids. Things are great. And the hurts began to pile up. And he couldn't forgive. And now he is no longer in the church. And he no longer believes in God. Because he didn't work it through. He let the imperfections in the body drive him away from God. I don't doubt that somebody did things that they needed to apologize for or whatever. But look, we're all going to do it. We're all going to do it. Trust God and trusting His Word about how to live your life with Him and His children. Those two things are bound together. One of the big signs that we are Christian is we figure out how to love each other. One of the greatest joys in my life is being able to grow in love for the whole church. There are some people that are easy to love. There are some people that you can love. And there are some people you got to work at loving. I was with Anthony Battle. I may have told this story before, but me and AB, we were working together on staff, ministers in Broward County. We'd been working together for a while. And one day I got with AB. He goes, yeah, Man, we first started working together, I just had to get up every morning to pray to love you. I'm like, what? Pray to love me? But I'm awesome! Like, I mean, you had to pray to love me? Like, that's how bad it was? Like, it was pretty bad. I mean, I appreciate you praying and trying to make the effort, but I mean, see, we don't ever think we're the difficult one to love. We don't. We think we're like super huggable and cuddly and, we don't look intimidating or we don't say things that like hurt people's feelers. Look, I'm glad people make the effort to love me. Look, I work at being cuddly. I know I'm not the cuddliest. I'm trying. But look, I appreciate you working with me. I want you to work with everybody. Because that's what it takes to be a family. We got to overcome all the things that make it difficult so that we draw close together. What does that look like? In verse 16, it says, this is how we know what love is. Jesus laid down his life for us. And we ought to lay down our lives for our brothers. If anyone has material possessions and sees his brother in need, but has no pity on him, how can the love of God be in him? Dear children, let us not love with words or tongue, but with actions and in truth. This then is how we know that we belong to the truth. And how we set our hearts at rest in his presence. Whenever our hearts condemn us, for God is greater than our hearts, and he knows everything. How do you know your heart is at rest? You're doing great with your brothers and sisters. A little bit later on, next chapter in verse 20 of 1 John, it says, if anyone says, I love God, yet hates his brother, he is a liar. For anyone who does not love his brother whom he has seen cannot love God whom he has not seen. Now, look, we're not going to be perfect. We're always going to have to work on this. We're always going to have to work through things. Look, it's an ongoing thing. Building relationships in the body of Christ is ongoing. And it's awesome. Because the things that have been most satisfying to me are the relationships I have in the church, and the ones that are even more satisfying are the relationships where I've overcome the collisions. God is glorified when we act like him, when we act like his son. When we go beyond our own needs to meet the needs of others. I appreciate 17 and 18. It's like, look, if anyone's in need, we got to help them out. Let's just not love with words or the tongue, but with actions. I was texting Jude Fetterspiel yesterday, and I said, hey, Jude, how you doing, man? He's had a kidney transplant. And he's like, man, things are so much better. My energy is, praise God. I'm like, man, that's awesome. Hey, man, I heard there were a few people that, offered you a kidney in the church. Man, it was so encouraging. It was 8 people. A few people here and a few people up in Boston where he's from. But these are brothers that, maybe sisters, I don't know. But they stepped forward and said, you need a kidney, I'll help you out. Now that's helping somebody out in need. Like, bro, you're a little short on grocery money, here's a $50 Publix card. And that's awesome. But like, bro, you're a little, here's a kidney. That's next level. I'm thinking to myself, God gave us 2. Maybe I should keep mine. I don't know. I'm just being honest. That's love. So look, here we go. I got a spare. Let me help you out. It's laying down our lives for each other. One of the encouraging things during the pandemic, not everything was encouraging, but this was encouraging. I started Zooming all the house church leaders, or small groups. I'd sign them up different times during the week. Sometimes I'd, have 3 or 4 Zooms in a row. I'm like, hey man, how's it going with your group? Talking with them, what's your... it was very encouraging to find out what was going on in the groups and the people, the good things that were happening. And then Jeff and I would visit different house churches for Sundays or whatever. And, consistently I saw that, these house churches were like, man, we're here for each other. We're making it happen. And it's been very encouraging to see how the family has been connected. Lots of bonds of friendship. I will say, though, as always, there are some things I observed that I think are a challenge that if we embrace, it will take us to the next level. A few house churches, are a little monochrome. Went to a few, all white, a few, all black. Somebody had to do geography or whatever. Free encouragement from me to you. Maybe you could exchange a swap. Because what happens when we get to know somebody who's not like us? When I worked at Lockheed Martin, it was a bunch of guys like me, engineering nerd kind of guys, all made sure that we had our household budgets on spreadsheets. You know, we were making sure that the 401k was properly balanced. I mean, we were all kind of the same. It was really good for me not to be with the same people all the time. And look, I like engineers. They're nice people. They're fantastic, except I shouldn't be with them all the time. So I would encourage us to shake it up. But, you know, honestly, there are a lot of house churches, and it's all mixed up. And so it isn't a huge problem. But I just want to say, hey, if maybe that's your group and you need to do a little mixing, I encourage you to mix. Amen. I will say my bigger concern is what I call the life station obsession. What is that? The young kidder families all have families with young kids in their house church. Several problems with that. Most important of which is they're usually outnumbered, and there are more kids than parents. So it's a dangerous situation. But what I noticed is they're all in the same life station. Nobody's there who's been there before. So they're like, well, what are you doing? I don't know. What are you doing? Okay, that's what we've been doing. All right, we're doing it. You know, you ever been here before? No, I've never been here before. How about you? No, I've never been here before. All right, we're all never been here before together. But then we got all the middle schoolers all stay together, you know, those families, and it's kind of the same problem. Because they've all never been there before together. And then the high schoolers are all kind of together. And, you know, and we've got an awesome young pros group, but they're all kind of the same. And the empty nesters who are like kind of all the same, but they're like, woohoo, done with the kids, you know. And I'm like, that ain't a great idea, man. Come on. You actually raised them and got them out of the house and they're still alive? There's something you could probably pass on. I'm just saying. I mean, you know, look, I'm not saying every group's got to be perfectly matched up. I'm saying different generations are good for each other. Because what's the temptation? We look at the generation above us and go, I'm thinking they don't get it. Look at the generations below us and they don't get it. You know, it's like when you're driving on the highway. You're going down the road. You've picked your speed. You're going down there. I've set my cruise control at 70.5. Getting everything I can out of the sign, you know. 70.5. Guys blowing by me. Those maniacs! I'm about to run up on somebody who's going like 55. I'm like, what a knucklehead! I got maniacs that are faster than me, knuckleheads that are slower than me. I'm the only guy that knows what's going on. I have chosen the God-ordained speed. We can feel like we're the God-ordained generation. The older ones, I don't understand kids these days. What are they doing? You ain't got a lick of sense on that there Instagram. What is that thing? Snapper chat. Young ones are like, oh, those guys, man, they're on Facebook. What does it matter with them? That is so ancient. I ain't even on Facebook, so that says even worse things about me. Look, we need each other. Every week, well, not every week, but most every week, Coleman, who is significantly younger than me, over here, we go have a tea time. We were up there a few weeks ago, standing on the tea pad. There's a couple of older guys down there, and we're waiting on them, and I'm like, man, when are those grandpas going to get out of the way? Then it dawned on me, I am closer to those guys in age than I am Coleman. I mean, a lot closer. A lot. I mean, there's like 30 plus years between me and Coleman. 35, I think. I was probably only 10 years behind those guys. So we play disc golf. Here's what happens. We play disc golf after I heckle. We play disc golf. I lose. Then we go to Einstein's. If it's a particularly bad loss, I get a bagel and a Coke because I got to soothe my inner self, and I get that, you know, that good cane sugar flowing through, and I feel much better about life. If I played fairly well, I feel good enough about myself, I get a water, we sit down, we talk, and we discover. Now, sometimes I'm helping him with ministry stuff or whatever, but other times it's like, okay, so bro, help me out here. What are you millennials thinking, man? I don't understand it. Because, in this situation, this is what I would say. And he would be like, oh, no. That is not a good plan. Really? It makes perfect sense to me. I've been doing it for years. He's like, no. Then he explains to me what's going on with the millennials. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, that makes sense. I shouldn't say that. But then I also explained to him, okay, this is why my generation thinks the way it does. You know what? We learn about each other. We get smarter. Because I got a lot of stuff to offer. He's got a lot of stuff to offer. We can learn from each other. Now look, I think older folks, we can do a great job about passing on things about marriage and parenting and endurance and overcoming. But I think the younger generation, they're open to fresh ideas, new thoughts. Now, not every fresh idea they have is a good one. But not every old idea that I have is a good one. Just because that's the way I did it doesn't mean I should keep doing it that way. Nor does it mean that way is necessarily wrong and we should throw it out. We just talk. We figure it out. I'm saying it's good for Colin and I to get together because it helps bridge a gap. It helps us be better Christians. I mean, look, I was fired up. The Christian Elena Spoler had a house church. It was them and a bunch of young kidders. They said, like, man, we need some old people. We do not know what we're doing. He said, that's it. They disbanded their house church and ran and found old people to go be with. I'm not saying we all got to go disband our house church. I'm saying they recognize, man, we don't really have that much to offer each other because we're all in the same spot. We can all learn from each other. That's what the family of God does. It learns, it's humble, it disciples each other. The greater our differences, the greater the love required, the greater the growth there'll be. Let's close out in verse 21. Dear friends, if our hearts do not condemn us, we have confidence before God and receive from Him anything we ask, because we obey His commands and do what pleases Him. And this is His command, to believe in the name of His Son, Jesus Christ, and to love one another as He commanded us. Those who obey His commands live in Him and He in them. And this is how we know that He lives in us. We know it by the Spirit He gave us. How do we have confidence before God? We believe in Jesus. We love one another, and we obey. And the Spirit within us resonates when we're doing these things. And it gives us peace. This morning, brothers and sisters, are you willing to radically love the body of believers? To do whatever it takes to draw close. To do whatever it takes to overcome all the bumps and pains you may have experienced. Look, maybe some of you are doing awesome with it. Great. But if you've got, oh man, this brother right here, and you can't forget about it, or this sister, then go resolve it. Get it worked through. If you guys can't get it worked out, then bring in some other people. Bring in some backup. You'll get it worked out. Don't let it linger. Don't let it fester. If there's an alarm going off in your head, bah, 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 do something about it. Don't just try to hit the mute button, but respond and change it. If maybe this morning the alarm's not going off, but you're like, I've kind of lost my A game, get your A game back. If you're doing well, help others do well. Don't just continue on in your own awesomeness. I'm serious. There's a temptation. I'm doing awesome. Well, in your awesomeness, go help somebody. Because I guarantee you, you'll find somebody who's not doing awesome. And it'll be great, because you can go help them, and then on the day that you're not doing awesome, they can come help you. Because you are not going to do awesome between now and the end. This is not going to happen. You're going to be up, you're going to be down. Let's all help each other. Because what do we got? We got the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit, and each other. That's what we got. As we love each one, it's going to help us to love the other for now and eternity. Have a great day.